Hi, it's Gary with Successful Gardens, and today I'm doing something crazy. I am planting 30 amaryllis bulbs. I finally ordered some of my favorite bulbs that I've been wanting to order to add to my collection. Yes, I have a collection of over 30 amaryllis already planting right behind me. This year, I finally ordered some South African amaryllis bulbs. Now, amaryllis bulbs normally come from, well, do you know where they come from? A lot of them are grown in the Netherlands. And so you always hear about Dutch amaryllis bulbs. Well, I ordered in South African ones that are grown in South Africa. The difference is that because they are grown in the southern hemisphere versus the northern hemisphere of where the Netherlands are, regular Dutch amaryllis will usually take about 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes 10 to 12 weeks to bloom once they have been planted. Whereas South African bulbs usually only take about 4, maybe 5 weeks to bloom. I wanted to see the quality between the two companies. I've heard a lot about Brent and Becky's bulbs. And they had a wonderful selection of South African bulbs, so I was very impressed with their website. I'll include a link in the descriptions down below. And then also, I ordered in some bulbs from Dutch grown bulbs. Both of these companies are new to me, but I've heard a lot of good things about Brent and Becky's, and so I wanted to make sure that I gave them a try. So let's take a look at these bulbs and what you should expect when you open up your box of a healthy bulb. Now, I did a sneak peek myself and made sure that I got what I wanted. And so, at least from Brent and Becky's, they came in a couple of days earlier than the other ones. So I'm unpackaging them, and now, South African bulbs, I can tell you, they'll usually be smaller also in size. So I've got the 3 bulbs, and then I got their catalog. Ooh. Now, this is showing all of what I could order. I'll get distracted. All right. So I ordered 3 from Brent and Becky's. We have Wedding Dance, we have Harlequin, and Fanfare. And I'm really excited about actually all of these. All right, just a little about these. Wedding Dance is a pure white flower. Stands about 16 inches tall. Now, one thing I've found in comparing the South African versus the Dutch bulbs, amaryllis bulbs, is that South African bulbs usually have a tendency to be uniform in that 15, 16 inch range in height. So they have a smaller stalk. And usually a smaller bulb, but the flowers are still just as incredible and large as the Dutch. And so with this Wedding Dance, just looking at it initially, the roots on it are gorgeous. I could trim some of those little fiber hairs up, but it's not going to be a problem. What I'll probably just do is soak them in some water real quick before I plant them up. But you can see right here, that's 2 flower stalks. I can just tell by the size of the tissue that's poking out from the crown here. Is I've already got 2 flower stalks appearing on this bulb. And so, but Wedding Dance is a pure white flower with a green heart or a green throat. Stands about 16 inches tall, but the flower on it is going to be about 7 inches wide. And so but I'm really, really excited about this. Now, it's always important to make sure that you keep your bulbs marked. And what I am going to do real quick is just so I don't forget, is I'm just going to write on the pot that I'm going to plant it in, and I'm going to write wedding dance on the pot. Now, since these are in my collection, I can add whatever. I don't have to keep the pot pretty. I like to plant in clay pots. Usually the amaryllis bulbs that you get for gifts usually come in a plastic pot. So we'll talk about that when I get ready to plant 32 of those or 30 of those. And so, but back to this pot, it's a clay pot. It has good drainage to it, offers drainage, wedding dance, and I'm going to put the date. I'm going to at least put November of 23 on there. Okay, so then I'll put the tag in there and the bulb. Then I'm ready for that. Harlequin. There again, looking at the bulb, the roots are, even though they're dried up, they're nice and healthy. And I've got some flower stalks already getting ready to grow in there. So make sure I put the tag there. And I'll do the same with fanfare. Oh wow, this is going to be amazing. There's 1, 2, 3. I've got regular leaves growing, but I've got 3 flowers stems already growing. So nice and healthy. Well, let's get there. Now, some interesting information on the tag. This is probably one of the best tags I've seen from Amaryllis. It has some growing time, height, spacing, zones. Now, there again, with Amaryllis bulbs, they're not hardy in the colder climates. They are in the southern climates. You can get away with planting them and keeping them outside. But in the northern climates, I live in Wyoming, and so I'm a 4B. I have to grow all my Amaryllis inside, and that's all right. It takes up a lot of space, but what a show. And I keep mine year after year after year. In fact, as I was going through my collection, cleaning them up, I noticed one of my bulbs, I had a date on there from 2016. So I've got some older Amaryllis bulbs in my collection. So, all right, now let's look at the bulbs I'm getting from Dutch Grown. Now, when ordering online, if you're not familiar with a company, read the reviews, but also take into consideration when you're reading the reviews, one, how old a bad review is. Kind of keep it in context. Sometimes some people just like to be honored and leave reviews that aren't most favorable. So take that into considerations, and companies can grow, can change, and so take that into consideration. All right, so now, first time looking at Dutch grown bulbs. I've got 3 bulbs from this company. I've got Magic Green, Double Dream, and Doublet. Sad thing is, I can't remember what they were. There's one thing that you have to always be concerned with when getting Amaryllis bulbs. You know, usually you find the box sets to give as gifts to teachers, neighbors. In fact, some of these will be going to my neighbors for Christmas. And so But one thing that you will always want to be careful of is look in the box themselves when you open them up, because some of the bulbs look great. They stay dormant. Oh, look at that size. Oh, I'm excited about that size. Ooh, that's a gorgeous looking bulb. And but then some of them start to grow, which is not a problem. That's what you expect your bulbs to do. But this one, this Dubai, oh wow, cool. We've got 2 flower stalks that are, because they were in that package, they already started growing. They started elongating. They were reaching for light. There's no light in a box, so they started growing their stem. The other day I opened up one of these boxes back here, and that's what I found, is a blooming, well, almost blooming, but it started to grow. As white as white, but I pulled it out of its box so that it could start growing. Now this is a baby. This is another bulb that's going to be growing. I could break it off, but I'm not going to. I'm actually going to change this pot. Planting it in this larger pot will allow for this baby or this bulblet to grow and not be cumbered by the size of a smaller pot. When planting Amaryllis, it is key that you have good soil, good potting soil. In kits, they'll either have a bag of potting soil, or you'll get the bulb already planted. Looks like it's already planted in some soil, which is usually cocoa coir, which is a wonderful planting material. In fact, I'll show you what cocoa coir does. It's actually one of my favorite preferred planting medias that I use in planting bulbs and starting vegetables and flowers in later in the season when I get to that. But what you want to do, oh, there's another baby. We'll keep it in that size. So, but what you want to do, size of your pot is important. Amaryllis actually prefer to have tight roots, be almost bound up in the pot that they're planting, and that just allows for and forces a better, healthier bulb. The key to a healthy bulb is planting in a pot that's only 1 to 2 inches wider than what the bulb is. So with Amaryllis, you don't plant the bulb too deep. You don't. A lot of people think like a bulb, like a tulip bulb or such, that you plant it all the way and you know, bury the whole bulb up to the neck. You don't want to do that with Amaryllis bulbs, especially those that you're planting and forcing in the house. You only want about half of the bulb to be covered up. That allows for good root development, but I'm going to have to get a bigger pot. With this larger pot, which would be proper for the size of these bulbs, allows for top watering. If I'm watering this type of bulb, there's not a lot of room, so I've got to make sure I have a good tray on here. But I'm going to switch those out. These Dutch ones just came in a little bigger than what I expected, so I'm very, very pleased that I have to actually take it up to a larger size pot. But I can plant these South Africans in here with no problem. So putting in some potting soil around here, fanfare, right? When watering, one of the key factors is you want to water the amaryllis bulb in thoroughly. Give it a good soaking so all of that potting soil hydrates and gets wet. And then, depending on how warm your room is, you don't need to add any more water, let's say on a daily basis or such, until it starts growing. When the leaves and the flower stalk starts coming out of the bulb, then you want to start watering the bulb, say every 3 to 4 days. Check it. You want your soil to be moist, but not overly wet. Now, obviously, it's going to be wet when you water it, but after a few hours, you want that consistency or that moisture content or level in that soil. You want that soil to feel like a wrung out sponge. You can't squeeze any more water out of it, but you know that it's wet. And so, but key factor is the initial watering so the roots can hydrate and everything else can get soaked up and ready to go. Now I just need to place it in a bright sunny spot until it starts growing. It doesn't need to be in a sunny spot or extra lights, but I will place all of these under my grow lights so that they'll be ready and they'll start greening up. That was planting up 3 South African amaryllis bulbs and attempting to plant up 3 jumbo Dutch grown amaryllis. And so that was, I was just amazed at the size of that pot. But now comes the time to plant all of these. So hang on and watch the magic happen. With these box sets, I've got 2 different types of box sets amaryllis. Well, I've got some paperweights too. But I've got some larger bulbs that come in a little fancier ceramic pot. And they are actually a larger sized bulb too. Looking on the bottom size, it says they are a 28 to 30 centimeter sized bulb, whereas the bulbs that come in these smaller gift sets, they're not listing the size, but I believe these are about a 22-24 classification. So you can see how the difference in size of the bulb. So here is the 28-30, and this is the 22-24. Yeah, it's got to be about a 22-24 centimeter sized bulb. So, and that's why there's always a price difference when you first open up your box. If you know that, if you're a teacher and you know one of the students gave you a amaryllis bulb for Christmas, take it out of the pot, open it immediately. Don't wait till Christmas, because usually what will happen is exactly this. You will get a bulb that's growing inside that box. It gets a regular size, and then you feel like you're in trouble. You're already behind the 8 ball. When you open up your pot, you're going to see 3 things. You'll have a bulb, a bag of potting soil. In this case, this is actually coconut coir. This is a disc. Follow the instructions. It takes less than a minute to hydrate this, and I'll show you in a video. And you've got your bulb that's going to be growing. See, this here again, this one's already sending up 2 flower shoots and the green leaves. So with this ivory color, it needs sunlight. So this is ready to plant. Now, one thing that I have a concern with is the pots that they always send. They don't come with drainage holes. And that can lead to problems with bulbs rotting, or if you want, plant it, let it grow, throw it away. Then you don't have to worry about keeping it year after year or watching water control. But if you aren't sure about your watering, just take a hot nail, a drill and just poke a couple of drainage holes in the bottom of your hole of the pot, and that will allow water to circulate. But it doesn't hurt the bulb, especially if you're going to, once the flower gets done flowering, and throw it away. It hurts me to hear that you do things like that, but I understand. So you can just go ahead and leave it in here. Now, on an individual case, what it will tell you to do is it will tell you to take your disc, get a pot, a bowl or a pot, 2 quart in size, and then you open up the bag, take the plastic off, take the directions off, place the disc inside in the bowl, and add water, just like I do this. Now, I'm not going to do that 30 times. I'm going to add all of the discs together in a big pot. Figured it out where you add 2 cups of water per disc. I'm going to need 30 cups of water, and which comes down to just over 2 gallons of water. So that's how I'm going to mix all of these potting soil, this coconut core together. So then I will be able to fill each individual pot. Let's plant up 30 different amaryllis. A lot of amaryllis, and I have to ask, do you think I might have a problem with amaryllis? In my own collection that you see in the back window here, I have over 30 amaryllis bulbs planted. That was before I added 6 new amaryllis this year to my own collection. How many amaryllis bulbs do you have in your house? Do you have a favorite amaryllis? 2023 was deemed or known as the year of the Amaryllis. So here's my ode to the year of the Amaryllis. I planted a lot of Amaryllis. Leave it in a comment how many Amaryllis you have in your collection. Until next time, this is Gary with Successful Gardens, and remember, let's get growing.